Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is Thanksgiving. I hope that you and your family, or you and whoever the people you care about and have a part of your life, are doing well. This is kind of just off the cuff, just going to be kind of riffing about something that I have a pretty strong opinion on, and I'm developing a pretty strong opinion on. And that is that I think that movies these days are just getting too long, and I'm talking about movies in general. I'm not talking about me not liking long movies. That's why I have all these here. These are all long movies from my collection, all at least 2 hours, and I love all of these movies. I just want to come out and say, I like long movies. That's not the issue. The issue is, I feel like almost every movie that I saw last year was like between 2.5 and 3 hours, and I don't think that it needed to be. I feel like it's kind of becoming a trend. If your movie isn't like a stupid popcorn movie, then it needs to be really, really long because it has to have just a bunch of random surreal crap in it. I probably sound like kind of a hypocrite, I know. This movie's full of a bunch of random stuff. This movie's full of a bunch of random stuff. This movie's full of a bunch of random stuff. Synecdoche, New York. Holy cow. There is a way to do that correctly. But I feel like just as a whole, movies are getting really long. I feel like they just are kind of starting to drag on for the sake of dragging on. And I feel like nowadays people love just surreal stuff and they love the absurd. And so it's just kind of being thrown in everywhere, even if it throws off the tone of a movie. And I think that that's getting a little frustrating. So in the last year and a half or so, I've seen, I saw Killers of a Flower Moon, Anatomy of a Fall, Oppenheimer, Dune Part 2, Beau is Afraid. I didn't watch in theaters, but all of those movies are closer to 3 hours than they are to 2 hours. And I just am like, dude, I am kind of getting tired of it. I didn't walk out of Killers of the Flower Moon thinking that it was the best movie I ever saw. And I know that kind of wasn't the point. It was more of a historical, reflective movie. The cinematography was beautiful. The acting was nice. The costumes were nice and the sets were beautiful. But the movie was long. Now, out of all these movies, I will say the one that stuck with me the most is Beau is Afraid. And that was probably the longest one. I'm pretty sure that movie's like 3 hours. I can't really remember. But Beau is Afraid, that movie really stuck with me. I really liked that movie. But what brought all this up was there's this new movie, The Substance, that's out. And everyone's saying it's a great movie. I feel like 10 years ago, if I just heard of a random movie and went to go see how long it is, I wouldn't be seeing 2.5 hours every time. But I just went to look up The Substance because I wanted to watch it. It's 2.5 hours long. I was thinking about going and seeing Wicked tonight because I'm hearing that it's great. The movie's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. I mean, every movie is like this in length. And it's getting kind of frustrating because I think that a lot could be shaved off these movies. Like Napoleon, oh my gosh. I remember sitting there and half the movie I was just like, I want to be somewhere else right now. I don't even want to be here. I left early from the Yorgos Lanthimos one where Pretty Things or something. That movie, I was really good, but I ended up walking out of it after 2 hours. I was like, I want to go home. I'll watch the rest of it later. And a thing like that movie's so artistic that's not a movie that I would walk out of early, ever. Artistic, it was really cool, it had me engaged. That's the kind of movie that I love. It's a super artistic, weird movie. I like that kind of stuff. If it's kind of in the right context, I liked that movie. But it was just so damn long. I was like, dude, I'll just watch the rest of it later. I do think that YouTube has probably killed my attention span a little bit, but it's getting hard for me to sit there for 2.5 hours, movie after movie after movie after movie, and if the movie is not exceptional, then I don't want to spend 2.5 hours watching it. That's just how I feel, you know? A movie like Beau is Afraid, that movie had me going the entire time. There wasn't 1 minute where I was like, this movie's bored, this is too long. Granted, that movie is long. Like, it had enough in it to warrant it being that long. And so, you know, with some of these movies, I just can't do it anymore. And so I'm walking out early. And it's not even because I don't like the film. It's just that I don't want to sit there for 3 hours. And I think that Napoleon was the one that really did it for me as far as theaters go, because that was November of last year. So by that point in the year, I had already sat through Killers of a Flower Moon, I had already sat through Oppenheimer, I was just about to see Anatomy of a Fall, and so I remember sitting there and just being like, dude, this needs to be shorter because Napoleon was definitely not a movie that is worthy of having my attention for really any length of time. That movie really pissed me off. You know, when it comes down to it, we really only have so much time here on Earth. And I'm at the point where I'm not going to spend 2.5 hours watching a movie unless I hear, like, The Substance, unless I hear people calling it one of the best movies of the year. And yeah, that's kind of how my year has been. I got really worn out of really long movies in 2023. And so this year, I haven't really watched many. I watched Dune Part 2. I was really excited for that movie. I read the books. And so that movie being long was obviously also very different because I was excited for it. I was engaged. But oh my gosh, Napoleon. It upset me because Beau is Afraid was so good. Joaquin Phoenix really put a lot into that movie. I related a lot with that movie. I felt like Beau is Afraid, it showcased my anxieties on film. Like the part where he has to walk across the street and everyone's just attacking him and the naked guy. I mean, that's how I feel when I walk outside and I drive out of my little driveway and someone runs by me in a scooter and someone behind me is honking at me and I'm like, I just left 5 seconds ago. Can I get to the street corner without like getting shot? Like, so a movie like that movie really got me and I really identified with that. So if it's warranted, I have no problem with the movie being long. But I'm not going to sit through another Napoleon, dude. After that, no way. Gladiator 2, I'll watch the YouTube videos of people ripping on it. I'm not going to spend money and sit there and walk out being like, yeah, that was kind of boring. I don't think I liked it. I can't sit there for a screen for 2.5 hours anymore if it's not something that's engaging. I can't just sit there and watch slop for 2.5 hours anymore. So that's how I feel. If you like movies and you're not afraid of something a little too extreme, a movie that's kind of an endurance test, I highly recommend Beau is Afraid. That is the movie that I saw last year that has really stuck with me. I really identified with Beau, and I totally understood what Ari Aster was going for with that film. I totally understood that Aster was trying to put on screen how people feel when they're anxious, and that movie totally did it for me. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, I really liked it. I thought that the characters were great. Script, special effects, another long movie that I really enjoyed, and this is a newer long movie too. The House That Jack Built. I haven't talked much about this movie yet. I saw this movie when it came out in, I believe, 2018. I was just kind of coming out of a really hard period of my life, and this movie as well, I didn't connect with the character, obviously. There was something about the tone that conveyed a sense of helplessness that I identified with at that point in my life. And I can't explain. I've watched the movie 5-10 times, and I don't know why I like it so much. It's disturbing, but it's hilarious, and it makes me think. And I really enjoyed this film. because it moved me and it made me think. It not necessarily moved me in a positive way. It's extremely nihilistic. But there's just something about the performances in movies like that Lars von Trier does that just capture something so authentic that I just really enjoy watching. Even if it doesn't leave me feeling positive, I still enjoy it and feel like my experience with this movie has been a net positive, even if the content in the movie is pretty nihilistic and negative. No idea. Another long movie. I mean, this one's only like 2 hours, but it feels like 4 because it's so damn confusing. But Philip Seymour Hoffman, Charlie Kaufman, two great filmmakers. Philip Seymour Hoffman was the best ever. Definitely worth a watch if you like surreal, symbolic, metaphorical kind of movies. What can I even say about Interstellar? When I saw Interstellar, it was 2015, and I was also at a point in my life where I was very lost. I had been very sick for a very long time, and the way I explain it is my view of what I thought could be possible in this universe was, and in my life, was very small. And although this movie is fiction, it helped me realize that the possibilities of this world and this universe are much more than I have realized, and I have not given this life and this universe enough credit to inspire me and to show me beauty. I realized when I saw this movie that I had kind of let myself get to a space that was a little too negative, and this movie, I saw it at a point in my life where I realized that I really wanted to start making some positive changes, and even though I wasn't able to for a lot longer, this movie was still a huge jumping off point for me. I was actually in rehab when I watched this movie for the first time, so it was a big deal for me. It just inspired me. It's amazing how inspirational a work of fiction can be. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, don't even need to say anything. Jackie Brown, I haven't watched yet, and I know that I'm doing myself a disservice by still not watching it yet because it's supposed to be one of his best. More really long Lars von Trier. I have more really long Lars von Trier movies. When I found Lars von Trier, I really identified with the way that he conveys anxiety. When I watched Antichrist for the first time, I saw a movie that was made by someone who was struggling, and I saw a movie that was made by someone who was desperately and viciously trying to express himself in the only way he knew possible. And he took his trauma and he took what he was feeling inside and perfectly conveyed it with Antichrist. You know, that movie is extreme. I suggest that you watch Antichrist and try to be empathetic to what Lars von Trier was feeling inside. Because that's not a movie about logic or anything. That's a movie that's all about the feeling. And so I recommend, if you can stomach it, go watch Antichrist and go watch it from that perspective, of the perspective of this filmmaker suffering inside, and this is him putting his trauma on screen. So in conclusion, I do not hate long movies. I purposely surrounded myself by long movies for this video. But I think that modern movies as a whole are too long. Part of me wonders if it's like my attention span dropping, but I don't think it is because I just started playing bass guitar, and I play for hours every day. I have no problem staying focused when I'm playing. So I think that it's a movie thing. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, make sure to click the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Thanksgiving to you and the people that you love. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.